how at first I just was like, how does she experience the world? How does she experience the forest? Because that was our main activity during the pandemic. You couldn't really go anywhere. So we, would go on these walks because they were close, the trails. And it became, I guess it became part of my obsession to imagine what her reality is like. And then, of course, it just took on a life of its own.
I think we've done a really good job of setting up this series. So
should I share the screen?
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's jump into some of the images.
I don't know if you can see here, but there's like this image is slightly, glitched.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like a double exposure that doesn't totally match up. And this is of the actual Lost Lake. So color fields, I ended up using images that kind of over and over again in different reiterations. And like I have this image also in a double exposure that's a little bit more shaky. This is just very monochromatic. The idea of touching the earth became really important to me. The earth itself is literally in our hands. Like if we think back to what I said about the Everglades, like it's, we hold the power. And so there's that aspect of touching the earth, but also for blind people, touching the earth is how they see. Like when I'm with my granddaughter, she loves people. She'll like go up to a person and just take their hands, and her little fingers are touching everything. And it's like I say she sees with her hands. People don't quite know what to make of it.
I think it's great. What do you mean by this word glitch? It's come up a couple times.
Yeah. So, I'm using it in a very a broad term that, there's the unintentional glitches that, happen with digital media, video, photographic images where the computer kind of just, doesn't behave and you get some visual remnant from that. I like deliberately would kind of glitch the image to make it like this is a double exposure as well. And, to kind of make it so it's not what the eye sees under normal circumstances. I paid special attention here to the fallen trees.
To go back to that reflection on losing trees, the lost, and
exactly.
Got you.
And it's in the forest. You see all of these fallen trees. It's kind of remarkable. And also the glacial erratic. I'm fascinated with. We have a lot of erratics here, stones that kind of were dropped a long time ago from moving glaciers, and they don't really belong. They're not native to the bedrock. So, in contrast to the seemingly, always moving trees of the forest, these stones are so solid and heavy. So I'm incorporating the stones as well.
I love the gradient on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you feel like this is, this kind of interpretation is, why did you do that? Were you just trying to get
This one?
closer? No, just in general, just
Just,
the
oh,
whole project is an effort to kind of imagine what were you trying to do this was it kind of like
yeah.
a tribute, or is it just trying to get closer to her? Or, what were you?
I was just trying to like figure out how, at first, I just was like, how does she experience the world? How does she experience the forest? Because that was our main activity during the
Yeah,
pandemic. You couldn't really go anywhere. So we, would go on these walks because they were close, the trails, and it became, I guess it became part of my obsession to imagine what her reality is like. And then, of course, it just took on a life of its own.
yeah,
Uh, I she's not really interested in the forest anymore. I mean, she likes walking there sometimes, but it's not the same as like kind of like these daily walks. And she prompted the series, but it's not necessarily so much about her anymore, about me imagining what she may be experiencing. I kind of feel like I've created a visual language that's my own.
yeah,
Um, and, there's this shakiness, like of this one, another double exposure that's kind of shaky, and it's like I do feel like we're on shaky ground, like literally like photographing on the edges of the tectonic plate. We don't know when an earthquake is going to occur. We have a little bit more sense of volcanic eruptions, but sometimes they surprise us. But there's like this unpredictable kind of scary sense of the world right now that I feel. Um, and I think many people feel it's an unsettled state. And I especially actually like this one because the stones themselves are shaking,
yeah.
which will happen in like in an earthquake. But
There's
I,
that
I just
connection.
think we,
Yeah, to your
we live
previous.
in,
Yeah,
yeah, we live in this like kind of unsettled space.
it's true.
And, and I use the word liminal space. I've used that word to describe that kind of place where I like to photograph. Like I like the boundaries, but along the boundary itself it exists something that's a little more liminal. There's the inside the boundary and outside of the boundary. And you're either in, let's say, for example, you're in the park or you're not, you know. But right along that edge is a place that's a little bit uncertain. Um, and so I kind of think of this project as being there. But it's also my homelands. This is like kind of in my backyard, so to speak. And so it's like something I'm very familiar with, and I can, I go visit all the time. I see subtle differences.
So, how has this project made itself into the world? Do you do books, or have you done installations? How do you
I
imagine this?
Yeah, I have had an installation of this work, actually two. Here's the hand touching the earth again,
Yeah, I love
um,
it.
and the images are different sizes. The hands, I don't like to print larger than life size. Um, and something like this is larger. It's a composite image, so it's a big file, and um, so this could be about 40 by 50, um, but they range in scale, and I like the idea of things being different sizes on the wall. So as you walk through, you're experiencing more of I mean, it's a kind of a choreographed experience, like different notes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, I would like to make a book of this at some point, but I'm not there yet. It's still in progress.
Is this project still ongoing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's it for that one.
Wonderful.